You are listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us on bringjoyforward.com and join us in our community group on Facebook. We now take you to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Hello, and welcome to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. We are going to talk about bullies and boundaries, protecting your soul-aligned purpose. And I thought we'd just start out. This has been kind of a season, I guess, of learning how to protect our own boundaries. I feel like since COVID, we've kind of entered this new realm of like we had to reacclimate to society, and like there was all these different things that came up about now that we're back in kind of normal, so to speak. There was no like pause, I think, and everybody started to just kind of like go back to the way it was before. And in terms of spirituality, I think there's always this kind of term nice. We talked about it a little bit before we started recording. Kind and nice are not the same. And so it's kind of like this awareness of recognizing what you need, what's okay, and being able to communicate that in a way that's kind. Because you don't always have to be nice. You just have to be kind. So I don't know. I thought we'd jump off from there. Who wants to jump?
Yeah, I was going to say, who's going first?
Go ahead, Christina.
All right, I'll go first with that. So this whole kind versus nice thing has definitely been something for me that I've battled a long time, because I've always, most of my life, been like overly nice because I like to please people. I find value in myself when I can help people and please people. But it goes too far sometimes, and then I get taken really advantage of, or I extend myself too far and I start to fall apart. There's faults on both ends, my end and other people's ends, when things go too far that way. So it's taken a long time to balance it out. And advice that my coach gave me, that is one of his things that he says all the time. He says, I tell people I'm kind, but I'm not nice. There's a difference in it, because kindness is something where like you're doing the right thing for a purpose, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing. I mean, the nicest thing to do. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the thing that that person needs at that current moment. So, and it also protects you. So in two incidents where, say, to give examples to explain this better, the way I see it, is that being kind may be, if say you're being nice, you're going in a situation, you're being really, really nice, you're overextending yourself too far. You're enabling, say, a person, you're always doing something for them. They never learn to do it themselves. They become completely dependent on you. And if you're getting overwhelmed at the fact that you're always doing this for this person, and now like there's no more gratitude involved with it, they expect it from you, it starts to go too far. Being kind in that situation, not necessarily being nice, would be like talking to that person and being like, I feel this is very taken advantage of. I feel I'm extending a lot further than you are in this. I don't have time for this. And you might need to set up that boundary and be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I will show you how to do this, and then you're going to continue. I can't do it anymore. They have to better themselves in that case. And you're putting up that boundary to allow them to do, the favor or whatever it is that you've been doing for them this whole time. A lot of relationships end up with that problem. There's like such a dependency on one another. And then when things start to fall apart, it gets really bad, and it gets more angst and violence between people. But anyway, so also saying the thing that the person may just need to hear at that moment. They may not like what it is that they need to hear, but that's what they need to hear to kind of snap them out of whatever little bubble of what that they're in, to help them better themselves, and another situation with that is also being kind to yourself. So I actually have a friend of mine where they say that she needs to be more empathetic towards her coworkers, but she is their boss. She runs that district. She needs to make sure, because the client really likes her, but her people that work with her in that department, she needs to make sure that they are doing the job. And there are some people that are just like not fit for it, just not fit for their, somebody was bringing their kid to work. Somebody was bringing, like, they're doing TikTok videos. One person's always calling out all the time. Like, it's a hot mess. It is a hot mess. And like, that's why she was put in that place, to shape things up. But now they're all like, oh, she's a bitch. You know, you can't do all this. There's no empathy. Nobody feels, you know, they're just hard. You know, like, it doesn't make any sense. It makes a horrible, hostile environment. And, you know, then she got talked to by like her higher ups, where they're like, you got to be more empathetic. You have to care more. You have to do this. And I'm talking to her and I'm like, you know, because this is a thing with her. A lot of people do tell her that she's not, you know, empathetic enough, that she always just wears on her face the exact thing that she's thinking. And I'm like, it's not that. I was like, it's really honestly not that. I said, you're doing your job. And the fact that the client is absolutely overjoyed with the job that your department is producing, that should say something. It was like, you need to protect yourself, because being more empathetic, and it's not like she doesn't care. She does genuinely care. Like, she set somebody up in a position because they have knee problems and they can't walk around. So she made sure she put them in a position to where they didn't have to do any physical activity. Like, she does care.
Right.
You know, but, you know, I was like, you have to protect yourself from being fake. If you're putting a fake empathetic kind of thing out there, you're not being genuine to this person. You're not going to make any good established relationship. Like, and then that's going to hurt you. Like, yes, so you have to be an adult sometimes. I'm not telling her to go around flip people off. You have to be an adult. You have to be nice. You have to be civil. But you need to protect yourself and who you are in order for you to produce, because this is just work. You know, in order for you to produce the best thing possible, you need to protect, because if you start breaking yourself down, making yourself different things for different people, while yes, that is a very, like, that is a shamanic role, like, you're supposed to be different things for different people. In a work environment, you don't need to be that. In a work environment, you need to be the boss, and you need to be consistent with each employee so they know what to expect out of you. So you need to protect yourself and be kind in that aspect, you're being kind to your soul aligned self and your purpose in that job, and you're being kind and being consistent to what these employees can expect out of you, and being kind in the fact of the overall picture of you're producing good work, keep producing good work. You know, like, it's just, don't sacrifice parts of yourself to be something else. So, okay, I think that's my rant on that. I hope it made sense, because I like kind of went like in and out of spirit speak a little bit on that one, and I was trying to give examples, and I'm like, wait, maybe this situation is this kind of example and this and that. So I don't know if it was clear.
No, I love that you brought in a completely work related, you know, like a cold, I guess, if we put it that way.
Yeah.
But it still comes back to that
right
communication.
Now. It's a real life situation a friend is going through right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Like, you as a person go through many different stages and like interactions. You know, you have your work self and your friend self and your home self, and, you know, and you're not the same person in all of those places. But underneath it all, you still have to find that place where you can understand what your boundaries are, and be able to set them or talk through them, you know. And so, like, in a situation like that, that's a communication thing. These people are feeling something in relation to the way their job is changing.
Yeah.
And it's changing because it has to, but there's a disconnect between how it's getting to them and how it's getting back to your friend. You know, so it's like that. I don't know that it's empathy that's needed as much as just conversation,
Yeah. Yeah,
communication
exactly.
between the two.
And she's very straightforward. It's very much like, no, like there's nothing hidden in between the lines in conversations with her. It's very simple and straightforward. So people think that there's more behind it, and there's not. It's like, no, I'm purely doing this because this is the requirement. This is all this is. I'm sorry if it interferes with you not being able to go with your friend to lunch at the same time and all that kind of stuff. But like, it'll come out in the most sarcastic way. Because it's like, I don't understand why you're just not getting this, that this is just the job. That's all this is. I'm here to work and I'm here to go home. That's it. I don't want to make friends.
Right. Yeah.
It's a bit nuts. She's older and has like no patience for anybody anymore. She's just done with life. She's like, I only got a few more years to work and I don't have to do this anymore. But she's very good at what she does. So it's like, people don't want her to retire. People don't want her to leave, but she's like, no, I'm done. And there's a lot of people she's working with are a lot younger, like significantly younger. So there's
a disconnect
to begin with too.
In generational speak too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that kind of comes in. Shannon, do you want to take a different approach?
Well, okay, so being a little bit older than y'all, I so relate with that story because that same thing happened to me. I was thrown into a management position because I was the only one doing the work when they fired a manager. And I mean, it was to the point where they called me Little Hitler. Seriously, because I went in there to clean house because and I know me, sweet little me, who can think of that, right? And I knew nothing about boundaries really back then, but I basically had to tell them, listen, there's a reason why that other manager is not here because she didn't do her job and you weren't producing, right? And so I'm like, you have to produce in order for the owner to make money so that he can pay you. I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, why don't you understand this? And I did have people go into his office and then he would call me in and I was like, but you understand, since I've taken over, how much more money you're making. Do you understand? They're just used to the way this manager did not manage, because she was their friend. I said, and just what you said, I'm not your friend, I'm your manager. And I was like, I made a rule, like I would never be Facebook friends with anybody until I quit a job. Then you can be my friend. But if I'm your manager, I mean, I can't be your friend, And I've actually had and you're right, there's a communication thing with the younger generation. They're not brought, a lot of them are not brought up the way I was, where, you have to do the dishes this week. You have to, to get your 25 cents or whatever I made back at home when I did chores. I remember I had to make my dad's coffee, so I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to make his coffee, so it was ready when he got up, and I got 25 cents a week to do that. I mean, yeah, that's that. I was rich, and we did lose a lot of people. But then the people I hired after that, I mean, I was up front. I said, this is your job. This is what you will be doing. Just like when I worked at McDonald's, you have time to lean, you have time to clean. This is, and then you can play with your friends after work. Again, it's not personal. We're just, but as I do have to say that as I leaned in more to that job and was there and got some experience, they also knew I had their back. I had their back, but I'm also making money. And it was a balance.
Yep.
So, and the one thing I think I want to bring out about the whole boundaries and the bullies is I demand a certain amount of respect for who I am. Okay. And from what I've experienced with bullies, and their family bullies or work bullies or neighbor bullies or whatever, is they don't have respect for anybody else's space but their own, and I've always, even, and maybe I did know about boundaries, but I didn't know what it was. But even at other jobs, when I had to work with dock workers and stuff, they would come in with their mouths and I would say, I'm sorry, you don't talk like that around me. And I don't think they'd ever had anybody do that. So they always call me Mrs. Brown. They never call me by my first name like everybody else. I had drawn a line. And I think that so many people, you kind of touched on a little bit, we're all about love and light and the spiritual thing, but we're also warriors, and we're also like we can be kind, but I'm kind of done with being nice. Okay? And I'm not saying it's my way or the highway, but I'm kind of saying this is how I live my life. This is the journey that I am going on. If it doesn't align with you, bye, Felicia. That's fine. You don't have to interact with You don't have to interact with me anymore. You have the choice to walk away and never, and maybe that sounds harsh, but I just feel like I have to do what's good for my soul, what's good for my heart, what's good for my family, and the self-care is just really like it's through tapping. It is like pounding on the door. In order for you to move forward on your journey with your soul aligned purpose, you have to do self-care, and this is part of it. You will no longer allow people to push you around. Now, maybe I need to take that sacred pause and try to be kind about it, because sometimes, even sometimes when my husband triggers me and I start going, and he'll go, just take a breath and listen to what I have to say, and then you can have your fit, and then usually by that time I've calmed down. I know you wouldn't think that from me, right? But I can get and it was a learned response from growing up with a bully, and I'm trying to unlearn it and take that pause. So again, I can be kinder to people, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to allow them to continue that that kind of action with me. Go ahead if anybody else wants them to do, but you're not going to do it to me or my family. So that's that mama bear coming out like, no more. So that's what I have to say about it.
That's what I have to say about that.
I totally get the dock worker thing, by the way, my husband being one. I totally get that. Like, I remember one of the first times going down there to the pier, I saw two guys in the parking lot. I swore they were fighting, but no, that's just the way they were talking to one another. I was like, Ken, these guys are going to get into a fight in the backyard, in the yard. And he's like, no, that's just the way they are. It's the way they talk. But I totally get what you're saying with the respect thing. So when I was a service manager for Wild Cannon dealership, I had 17 techs, 17 guys that worked underneath me. And being consistent in them knowing who I am and what to expect out of me and demanding a certain level of respect, like, I didn't mess around. Yeah. Like, I had to fire a few guys, stuff like that. I had one guy who was like, oh, yeah, I could do networking and all that other stuff. And I asked him to make a Cat 5 cable, and he just didn't know what to do. He just did. And I'm like,
what's a Cat 5 cable? You can't
tell me you're a network engineer and you can't make a Cat 5 cable. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm done. No, the standard person is going to know this, but honestly, all it is you take the wire. We just had the spooled wire. You take the wire, you break the end off, you expose all the strips, the little wires inside the big wire. You expose all the little copper strips and all that stuff. You take one of the ends. You have those little ends that plug into the computer and into the wall. And you take each individual one and you line it up with the crimp, with the end, with all the prongs going in all the right places. All you got to do is just get the cable and make them fit like this. And then you crimp the end. That's it. That's all that's involved. Like, if you just look at it, you can figure it out. But regardless, since they knew that, I held them to a high standard for the job. But if they did a good job, I didn't care if they cut out early, as long as they told me. I had one tech. I miss this guy so much. We still talk a bit, but I miss him so much. We had one tech to, like, he was top guy, absolutely amazing. And I was like, all right, you got no more calls. I was like, so if you want to come here and you want to catch up on a few things here, you can do that. If not, if you want to disappear, just let me know. He's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go disappear. Then he goes home and he calls me and he's like, yeah, just letting you know I'm back home. If anything happens, just let me know. I can go somewhere close in the facility if there's an emergency. He's like, but right now I'm in my pool. And I'm like, you're in your pool? And he's like, yeah. And I hear like, splash, splash, splash. So, but he did the job. So if I could always rely on you, I didn't care what you did on the off time as long as the job was done. Yeah. So like they knew there was that good relationship. So it was either like people absolutely loved me because I made a very straightforward, you know what's expected of you when you come in. And if something happens, because life happens, I will support you in that. I will have your back in that. You got something going on with your kid, I'll send you in jobs that are close in your vicinity, you know, like things like that. I will work with you. But if you're going to push back and have problems, it's not going to end well, because I will win. Like that, I mean, that's part of the stubborn New Yorker in me as well. But I will win, because if you're going to affect my job, then we got problems. So if I'm not producing right, we're going to have problems, because we're all here to work. Yes, we can go have Christmas parties. Yes, we can go hang out afterwards and all that stuff. But so I totally get what you're talking about, Shannon. Totally.
I love that. I actually told him, so another manager, because he was getting in my face, and I was like, I don't care. He was like 6 foot tall. I said, I don't care how short I am, I will win. And I think he lasted 2 more weeks. So like, but I'm sorry, that's just what I do. You know, I do my job, and yeah. So I totally understand that. I guess, thinking about it, I knew what boundaries were. I knew what was, I expected, but I just didn't know what they were called. But I think it's a little bit harder, because now that I'm not really working in the Muggle world that much, is with having to draw those boundaries with family. And then Christina and I are kind of sharing some, and I'm sure a lot of you are, with elder parents or elder grandparents that you have to take care of, and they don't have all of their faculties. And so we don't know, we've never been in this kind of situation before. So we're kind of learning, but, even, they're acting more like 5 and 6 year olds, but my, grandkids that are 5 and 3 pay better attention to me than they do, because they're not understanding or accepting. That's the big word, accepting that their rules are changing. And so that, I think, when you have a personal thing like that, I think the boundaries are a little bit, I've had to tell my mother more than once, because I'll tell her something and she'll give me this look. And I'm like, you are not allowed to give me Chelsea's 16-year-old lick. Chelsea was my daughter, and it was a lick she gave me when she was mad at me. My mom's doing the same thing. You're not allowed to do that. No, we're not going there. And then I have to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, that she thinks I'm just being mean. And so, again, I understand. I think we all do. With family, it's hard, but you have to also remember that self-care, because as Christina said earlier, if you don't, then you get overwhelmed, and then it just blows up. And so if you can just in increments say, okay, you've crossed a boundary here, let's talk about it, let's figure out how we can do this, because otherwise sooner or later it's going to blow up, and it's not going to be pretty, but hey.
I think it's interesting too to just kind of recognize boundaries can be flexible.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have, this stone wall with a moat and a drawbridge. It could be movable depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's something too. It also can be dependent on the situation, on the person. And I think a lot of times, at least for me, I don't realize how flexible I'm being sometimes, and how much I'm acquiescing and just going along with things, and so I think that just awareness of what the boundary is, why you have that boundary, and then where you have flexibility in it. And sometimes it requires taking a pause and just looking at a situation. But, we're in these situations that we're talking about, a lot of times there's emotion that pops into it. Mm-hmm. So you need somebody else sometimes on the outside, or you've already reacted and you're like, wait, I had a situation like that it's actually a boundary situation where I was just acquiescing for so long, and then I basically hit a wall and reacted. And then after that, needed the 5 minutes to walk it off, but,
or the couple weeks, or the couple months, or the year.
no, this was like, breathe through it, and it was definitely my overreaction, but it happened because I was making choices to let boundaries slip for a long time without communicating that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was like, psh, that's it. I was also very hungry, so when you're hungry, lots of things happen.
I love seeing these Moon key lessons come through, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying every second of that right now. I'm like, oh, yeah, she knows.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's funny, too, because, like, there's parts of us, me, that are just kind of in there. Even if we adapt and change and grow and do all the things, I think there's parts of our intrinsic personality that will come out. And like, so situations like that, for some stuff, I have a short fuse. But it's weird because it's a long fuse until it's not.
Yep.
It's like, one of those kind of deals. So I think it's just a matter of kind of recognizing where you are and what you need.
Yep.
And sometimes giving yourself a little grace when you do fall back into old patterns, because it's not easy to grow and progress, in your own spiritual journey. You guys were talking about, like, I'm right in this. And I feel like that was a big part of my personality for a long time. And I'm very flexible now, but that does show up, and that competitive nature and wanting to be understood, and so that all comes back around to that communication. So, with the boundaries, and that idea of protecting your personal aligned purpose, is being able to recognize it, have that awareness, recognize it, and then also know where you're going to be flexible and communicate that. And that communication is key, because that's where that's coming, that disconnect is coming. And if it's a bully and they don't understand boundaries or any of that stuff, sometimes the communication is simply non-communication. I'm done. Walk away. This is not happening anymore. Whatever you need to be safe in your situation. And sometimes it's a family member that you have to deal with all the time, and you have to keep repeating what those boundaries, what they are.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. That's a very tough thing to do, because it often leads you, like I said, I'm a person that sees value in when others succeed, when I help them and others succeed. So I have been, I've taken things way too far and been taken advantage of way too far. Because it's like, I want to see that value. Like, it took a long time to understand that that's why I overextended myself. That's why I always took, because I wanted people to be happy that I was a part of their life, that I was an influence in their life. So I was way too kind and way too nice and overextended. I never said no to the bully.
Yeah.
It was a hard conclusion to come to. It took a long time. It took way longer than it should have. But too many situations, the same repeating pattern happened, and I didn't get it. It took too long to get it, but I got there. So,
yeah.
Some lessons we take a lifetime.
Yeah. And that's the thing too with doing this work, is we do notice there's a pattern. Like, okay, this keeps happening to me. I'm the one that's in every situation. Why does this keep happening to me? And how, it's almost like you're in a deja vu, or you're caught in a loop. I know 20 years ago, I'd always be going, okay, I feel like I'm in the hamster wheel. What's going on? how can I change the energy, or, what do I need to do to get out of this? And I love, that you brought up the word no, because for so long my word was yes. And 2025, my word is no. And it may be a hell no, but I'm saying no to all those things that just do not, what did you say? Protect my soul aligned purpose. That is not for my highest good. And I have a friend that always says, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And that's what and a lot of people around me are going to not know who this person is, but it's just, I'm there. Like I said, I'm done. And this is the way that my path is going into, like unknown territory. Because like you said, I was a people pleaser. I want people to be happy. I want them to feel joy and love their lives and all that, but not at my expense anymore. Not at the expense of my joy or my happiness. And I know that sometimes might come across self-centered, but yeah, hell yeah, it is. It's self-care, because that's who I am. That's who I want to be. I want to be full of joy. I want to be full of ease and grace, and I'm just, I'm at that point. I think I've given you guys enough tools. Like you said, you show them how to do it. And then, I'm here if you need me, but I'm not here to do it for you anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by you being your best self, you can be the best for people when they need it.
Yeah.
It shapes it. So this is the year of bye, Felicia, for you. I love it.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good spot to end this episode. Would you like to, Christina, go ahead and let people know who you are and where they can find you?
So you can find me if you Google Sacred Temple Wellness. I will show up everywhere. Worked real hard to make sure that works. You can find me, obviously, Bring Joy Forward. You can find me, my company, Sacred Temple Wellness. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. Also doing a whole bunch of other podcasts and other things. I don't know. I'm getting everywhere. Right now. So, but yes, you can find me, Bring Joy Forward, and Sacred Temple Wellness. That's the fastest places to find me. So,
love it. And Shannon.
All right. You can find me on the Bring Joy Forward.
And you are Shannon Brown.
I am Shannon Brown, and you can find me on Bring Joy Forward. That's probably the only place you're going to find me this year, because I am going into hibernation, at least for January, or, probably for the year. Yeah. I'm hibernating. And becoming a soul seed, yes.
Yeah, clearly, we didn't even say, like, where do we find you? Just like, yeah, you can find me at Sacred Temple. Who is it? Christina? Who's this? Who's that? No. Bring Joy Forward. Who are you?
Okay.
No, we're both like hibernation. I get it.
This is real life. We recorded this in 2024.
Yes.
And if you're not feeling that end of year vibe,
and just
with this episode that you're going to listen to in probably March.
Yeah, probably March. But just remember that you're not alone, that others are going through the same things that you're going through. And we're here to maybe help guide you, or, let you know that you're doing awesome. You're doing an awesome job. So keep up the good work. Gold star.
Everybody gets a sticker. And I am Shannon. You can also find me at Bring Joy Forward. You can get all my information there, links on where you can connect and all that stuff. But yeah, we're here for community, and we thank you for joining us. You have been listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us at bringjoyforward.com, and we'd love to have you join us in our community Facebook group. Thank you for listening.